So we are going to be looking at a scenario where the Roman Republic comes back to the modern world. This is the Roman Republic at its peak. This is before Julius Caesar crossed the river to Rome and took over Rome and made it a empire. Anyways, if you guys do enjoy these videos, make sure to like and subscribe. On the road to 3K, let's try and get there before the end of summer. And let's get into this video. So, the Roman Republic has just appeared, and as you can see, they cover a lot of the Mediterranean. Not all of it like its superior, the Roman Empire. This is still the Rome with the democratic values. And with those values, they're going to be going over to Spain. The Romans are going to enter in through these northern areas, and I did forget to say NATO is disabled, while also sending some troops down from Madrid, pretty much entering in from all sides of this little Spanish part. They even make a naval landing, and by that point, it's pretty much over for Spain. And in the peace treaty, they are fully annexed by the Romans. Now, all of Iberia is underneath the control of the Romans. They're probably plundering it for a lot of the gold and stuff there. But there is one problem with the Romans, and that is this area over here is not connected up with the actual main Roman parts. They're not connected up with the Italian parts, mainly. So to fix that, we see the Romans invading into Italy and France at the same time. So we see the Romans focusing in on these coastal areas, which they soon enough connect up with their French and Spanish areas. We see troops over inside of France going into these areas of France that are close to tie straight into the Germans joining in on this war. All you German nationalists are probably really happy about this. We see this northern area of France getting split like this. We then see the German barbarians fighting against the Romans. Over in this area, it's pretty stalemated, actually. Even though Rome has a lot of other stuff, they just can't seem to beat back the barbarians. Don't worry about the Alps. Focus in on these areas right here. Mainly focus in on the French parts, and soon enough, they take over all of these French areas. Now, the Australians join in on this war and send their troops down into this land inside of the Alps that used to be theirs. The Romans are now also invading into these Alpi areas. Alpi, new word. And now the barbarians, the Germanic barbarians, are invading into Austria. After the Romans take over all of the Italian areas, they begin to sweep up into the Austrian areas, as well as invading into Austria. More trading going along the lines of the barbarians and the Romans, although the Austrians are holding a good defensive about here. Now the Hungarians are getting in on this war, and soon enough Vienna is going to get captured. We see Austria getting split like this, and we continue to see trading along this Austrian front line and the French front line. Although the Romans are outclassed over in the Austrian front, they are getting more land inside of the French front, but the Germans still pushing back a little bit. We actually see this war ending finally, and let's look at a peace treaty. Starting off over in Hungary, we see them getting these parts of Austria, and I'm pretty sure this is where Vienna is located, so pretty good parts that they got. We see the German barbarians getting the northern Austrian parts and pretty much all of Austria, as well as these lands, these very controversial lands, at least used to be controversial lands. And the rest of this is going to be going over to the Italians or the Romans. Pax Romana. At least that used to be Pax Romana. It's no longer Pax Romana. The Romans have expanded a lot, and now they connect up with their Western European parts. And now they kind of want to connect up with their Turkish parts. So to connect up their Turkish lands, they need to go through Greece. But, just to clean up the borders, might as well just declare war on all of the Balkans. And the rest of Turkey. And Cyprus. And Bulgaria. And Switzerland. Now the Germans are in on this war, and they're invading into Switzerland. In fact, they're taking a lot of Switzerland. By the time you actually send your troops in, pretty much all of Switzerland has already fallen to the Germans, who are now beating you back. You're losing a lot of your Swiss lands, so you might want to pick up on that Swiss land so that way you can get some more Swiss cheese. But over here, they absolutely demolish Slovenia, invading into Croatia. They cut off Croatia from Serbia. The strongest one over here is definitely probably either Turkey or Bulgaria, but they do take Constantinople, and soon enough take all of these lands over here. They make small invasions into Bulgaria, actually wiping out Greece. They take out North Macedonia while also making more invasions into the Bulgarians. Now they decide to focus all of their forces on Serbia, taking out the north of Serbia, and then invading in through these areas down here, taking out Serbia in the process, while assassinating someone named Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Now the Hungarians join in on this war, in which they invade the rest of Croatia. And now it is just Bulgaria and Turkey. What are you doing? With all of these troops flowing down into these Bulgarian areas, we see the Bulgarians getting pushed back all the way over here. Turkey, they may be a little crippled and they're getting invaded. Like, really badly. Like, really badly. Now, the Turkish surrender. And the Bulgarians do too. Oh, the Germans are going for it. And they have just taken Paris. The Germans are now invading into Rome, and they're doing it quite well. They actually almost managed to cut off the French areas from all of Italy. But now more troops are heading up here, which leads to a small pushback by the Romans in along this whole area, invading back into these Serbian areas, in which they sweep the rest of Switzerland. And now we see the Romans using this to invade into Germany. With a pushback going in on all sides, we see the Germans not surrendering, in which the whole border of the Romans and the Germans gets folded over to the Roman side. And with just a little bit of plot armor, and the Romans are going to fully blitz through Germany. And now the barbarians are rising up again. Now they're going into Poland. Well, isn't this just weird? Well, the Romans are going to say that they won this war. And let's look at a peace treaty. The Romans, they're going to be greedy, and they're going to be taking a lot of this land for themselves, pretty much fully annexing everything, all of the Balkans, and this part of Turkey. Why is this here? There we go. And we have Kurdistan. This part is going to go over to Hungary, while the rest of this is going to be Roman. So the Romans now have a lot of their western and just a lot of their old land, or empire land. And I'm just going to go ahead and color these bad boys in because there's nothing stopping the Romans from getting these guys. Maybe the British will. But after seeing what the Romans did to the Germans, I highly doubt they'd try that. So here is the Roman Republic. Thought I was going to say empire. But there is a few more things they need to do, like surround the Mediterranean. So we see the Romans going after Morocco, Algeria, the rest of Tunisia, Libya, I guess they didn't need to go after Libya, Egypt, and Israel. Good thing for them. These three right here are weakened. Another good thing is that there's no German barbarians that really can do anything to stop them from invading Africa. And because, I don't know what this is. The only real contender is Egypt, but they're going to take the Sinai Peninsula actually really quickly, taking control of the Red Sea, but they are stopped at Cairo. Going along this Libyan area, they begin to enter in from the west into Egypt. Going down this border, they get closer to the Nile, and actually cutting Egypt off from the southern part. Bad Egyptian planning. They're focusing a lot of their resources on taking out Egypt. And that is going to lead to Morocco making a landing inside of Iberia, as well as Algeria taking the Spanish Isles. That is just a no-no, so we see the Romans taking the rest of the coastline of Algeria, as well as down here. They cut off the border between Egypt and Libya. Libya is just going to surrender. Egypt, the southern part, surrenders as they continue to get squeezed down into this more populated area. And they now begin to invade into this eastern part of Algeria. The Roman boats have arrived, taking back their isles and kicking the Moroccans out of Iberia. They cross Gibraltar, kicking the British out in the process. And they begin to take the coastline, and after this, Morocco surrenders. And just with all sides, pretty much just, it's over. Now it's just Egypt. Well, that was totally shocking. Starting off, we see the Romans annexing Israel, as well as these areas of Libya and all of this of Egypt. These Moroccan areas and just the rest of the northern areas of Algeria and all of Tunisia. Down over here, we see a united northern African puppet state, and the Romans turned Morocco into its very own puppet state. Anyways, that is going to do it for this scenario. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe. On the road to 3K, like I said in the beginning, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys in the next scenario. Goodbye.